All right. So I wanted to talk about a few things. All right. So one, a lot of you guys consider yourselves either beginners or intermediate, or you consider yourself somewhat veterans, but so you know all the technical stuff, but you're still not finishing songs, right? And that's a huge problem. Like, why have all this information? Why have this huge toolbox when you don't know how to use the tools and in what order to put things in so that the tools work to benefit you, right? And get shit done. So a main reason that a lot of people never get started, like never really commit, is simply that they're afraid that they're going to suck, right? So they just think, well, until I don't feel like I'm going to suck, I'm going to hold off on trying to be creative, right? It's a really bad move on your part. And it's a really shitty attitude to have. Let me tell you what a better attitude to have is. A better attitude is to think, let's go, let's fuck up, let's really suck for a while, and let's gain experience from this and get better. There's nothing new that you're going to take on that you're not going to suck at in the beginning. And if you think that you're starting off and you're pretty good at something when you start, I mean, good for you, that's awesome. But what you're going to realize is you may just progress faster and take yourself further. So when you look back at the beginning, you're going to be like, oh, wow, I sucked, you know? So it's totally okay to like fail your way forward. I still fail forward, you know? I'm a creative person who happens to run a business. I had to learn how to run a business. And I'm constantly failing forward, right? Constantly. I mean, when I started making tutorial videos, you know, I put together a DVD and I sold it on eBay way back in the day. And it was just me taking action and trying to, once again, fail forward. First off, I had no idea how to use video technology. So I sucked at that big time. The quality of the videos were pretty crappy, right? Because I didn't know how to get the most out of those. The content was good. I had solid content. And at the end of the day, that's the number one most important thing, is that, you know, your content should be good. But all the technical stuff, you're just going to continue to get better at, right? So when I started, hey, you know, I sold about 3 hours worth of tutorials. It was great information because for the previous like 7-8 years, I had been training people one-on-one and I knew what people needed to know, right? But even with that, you know, sitting with someone one-on-one, do you think the very first session I had was a super success? It wasn't, you know? It doesn't mean I didn't give value, but I look back and I'm like, wow, you know, I just started. Or when I started, so way back when I worked at a Guitar Center and I got all this software that was just coming out for free. So all the software that you see out now, I mean, everything was on version 1 in like around 1997, 98. So they would give you they'd give you the software for free, you know, to learn it so that you can sell it, you know. And I was one of the very few people that actually decided I'm going to learn this and get good at it. So people would come to me and my answers would get better and better and better. And pretty soon they'd say, hey, can I pay you to come to my house and figure things out? And honestly, a lot of times, you know, the problem that they were presenting, I had no idea how to solve it. I just had enough confidence and enough need for extra money to go and figure it out, right? So that's failing forward. That's being confident enough that you're going to step into something and learn as you go. Anyway, back to having the software, what I was capable of doing before a lot of other people were getting into it is, I was one of the first people to have like a CD-ROM drive, a CD drive that would burn CDs, right? Because back then they cost like $600. So that was one thing I was able to offer. I had software and I had learned how to do basic noise reduction and some mastering stuff, right? I wasn't amazing at it, but I just started. I didn't charge too much money. For a lot of people, I was like helping them clean up their vinyl, because they wanted to convert their vinyl to digital now that that was a capability. And then slowly I got into mastering and I got better and better and better. But the point being, with everything that I did, I had to start somewhere. And with your music, that's exactly the same thing. You got to start somewhere. And if I shorten that sentence, you got to start. You got to stop being afraid that your first 10 songs aren't going to be up to the par that you're hoping for. And if you think that the idea is to make your first song like a freaking hit and make the production like all the way on par with all your favorite artists, that's a really silly goal. Like those artists, the songs that you're so into, that might be the 100th song they made or even more, right? So of course they're going to be so much better with the little details that you're not even noticing right now. So this should give you a little bit of self-confidence. Yeah, I'm telling you that you're going to suck in the beginning, but that should give you self-confidence, because if you know that ahead of time, then you could just dive in and say, all right, I'm going to suck for a while and I'm going to keep going. And the fact that I'm going to keep going every day, I'm going to progress faster than other people. And I'm going to progress faster than people that have been doing this for years and years, right? That's the secret. It's not getting a certain plugin or a certain tool or knowing everything about everything. It's not about going in forums and arguing with people on what the best compressor is. Get over that shit and start finishing songs, right? So that's one of the things that I wanted to present. I know some of my last streams were not very prepared and I wasn't like bringing it fully. I hope you get value out of every live stream that I do. But this one, I wanted to take a few notes so that I can like really kind of home in on some important things that I have to share. But anyway, failing forward, that is something that you want to accept. If you accept it, you're not gonna like be putting up resistance against that idea. Just enjoy the fact that you're moving forward, right? A toddler doesn't freak out because he's not walking right away. He's got to crawl, and then he starts grabbing onto things and standing up and, all that type of stuff, right? I mean, thank God we didn't judge ourselves back then, or we'd never be walking. We would just be like, forget it. I can't do it. I'm going to suck at it, so whatever, It's the way you got to look at everything, So I hope that connects with you guys. Another thing I wanted to talk a bit about is investing in yourself, right? The first thing I'll say is investing in yourself when you start thinking that you want to level up is really scary. I mean, even spending like $27 or $50 is scary if you've never done it before. And most likely it's because you haven't been around or put yourself around a lot of people who have a positive view towards self-improvement. Most people will tell you everything's a ripoff. And you probably will think the same thing, right? You'll think, well, why would I pay someone when I can just scour Google for years and collect all the information slowly? Well, that's a totally different attitude. It's a different perspective. Here, let me get this out of the way. It's a totally different perspective than someone who has regularly invested in themselves, right? And it gets less and less scary. And you're willing to invest more and more as you go because you realize the value. I've never made an investment in myself that I regretted. That's the truth. And you have to start somewhere, right? Now, I took a long time. So I took decades to figure out the things that I am teaching you guys now. So I understand that mentality. I had such a shitty mentality on investing in myself, self-improvement, and spending any money that I didn't have to. Let me tell you how ridiculous it is, all right? At one point in my life, I thought that grocery stores were ripping me off because, you know, when you buy your fruit, you got to put it in the plastic bag. And then there's the optional twisty, right? I literally had the mentality that they were just adding the twisties there to add more weight to the fruit, right? They were trying to get more money out of me. That's a super low level way of thinking. When you're thinking that everyone's trying to rip you off because they want to trade their value, something they can share, some way that they can shortcut your progress and charge money for it, right? Once you get to this level where it's more normal for you to invest in yourself because you see that you're able to grow by leaps and bounds so much faster by working with someone who's been through it, that you kind of find it ridiculous because money is something that you can always make. You can always make money, but you can't make more time. So how much of your time that is limited do you want to spend with trial and error, right? So I want you to think about that because I know probably a lot of you in this group have a very low level point of view when it comes to investing in someone who can teach you faster, right? It's totally okay if you know, I'm not saying you got to go with me or go with anyone. You make that choice. But if you find someone that you connect with and you know that they can get you from this point to this point, and if you say that you have an absolute passion, I can't tell you how many people tell me, music is my life. It's my passion. It's the only thing I want to do with my life. And then the moment there's a price tag on them leveling up, they're like, oh, I thought it was free. I'm sorry. I'm not really that invested. Here, let me get this out of the way. I'm not really that invested, you know. I'm only invested if it's free. Well, how many things in life that are free are truly going to resonate inside you and take you to the next level, right? Most of the free stuff you're gonna, you know, is going to be trial and error. And that's fine. It's just going to take you longer in this. It's going to take you more time. And once again, time is limited. Money you can always make, right? I know many of you probably don't like that attitude that you can always make money, especially when you're struggling. And trust me when I tell you that I've gone through that struggle in a big way, right? And it was a big deal for me to invest in anything, right? For self-improvement. I mean, my first investment that I remember in self-improvement, right? Because I was broke at one point. Real broke. The big upgrade in my life at the time was to get a more expensive spaghetti sauce. No kidding. I remember that moment because spending those extra couple dollars was a big deal at that time, right? But I'll tell you something. After I made that investment in myself, I didn't regret it. I had a more enjoyable experience from spending the extra money. I got a higher quality product, right? And it was the beginning, the very beginning of me shifting my mindset, right? It was the very beginning of me starting to think, yeah, I deserve better. I'm worth better. I'm worth this investment. I don't want to wait for something to come to me. I want to go after it and get it and make this happen faster, right? So that's all training is, right? And I'm not saying there's a lot of great value, and I give a lot of really good value for free as well. I really try to offer as much free value. For example, I'm not charging you for this, and I wouldn't, because I want to plant seeds in all of your heads. I really want to help transform you so that you can join me later on when you've kind of leveled yourself up and built your own confidence, right? Sadly, there is a reason for when you make a financial threshold in something that you're offering, me as a creator. The financial threshold is a positive, actually, for both you and for me. And I'll tell you why. Obviously, for me, if I get paid well for my time, I'm able to create more quality product, right? I'm able to give more. When I'm able to give more to myself, I'm able to put more out. You kind of have to fill your own cup, right, before you can really have much to give. So what I'm saying is that as a teacher, I have to put a threshold so that I can create communities of people who are like-minded. When you have a community of people who are willing to invest in themselves, you get people who have a better attitude toward investing in themselves, right? I know this because I used to be the poor person who would make a small investment, and I expected the world from my teachers. And I didn't even realize I was doing this, but I expected so much from my teachers because I was so desperate. I wanted them to handhold me all the way through this whole process. When you start getting to a point where you're willing to invest in yourself, you know that training is a partnership. Training is something that the trainer is going with you through this journey, but it's your responsibility to create results, right? That's not a mentality that people have when they have kind of a broke mindset. When you have a broke mindset, you're like, well, how can I extract as much as possible for as little as possible? When you level up, you think, wow, this is something, and this is a person that I want to learn with. This person is at the next level that I'm not at yet. Sure, he's charging a bit of money that makes me a little uncomfortable. So the question I have to ask myself is, one, is it worth it? And two, am I fully committed to putting in the work myself? I hope that kind of reaches you deeply. I'm not trying to insult anyone who doesn't have money. And I don't believe that because you don't have money that you're any less than anyone else. The only thing that I believe about this is when you start telling yourself a different story about where you're at creatively or financially or in any area of your life, when you start telling yourself a different story, when you start changing your vocabulary, when you start appreciating what you do have, your whole mind shifts. And when your mind shifts, you'll notice you'll look at the world totally differently. And you'll see opportunities that you would have never seen before. It's almost like you're gifted with the up level. But first you have to change your attitude. All right? I know I'm getting kind of Tony Robbins on you guys, and I apologize if that turns you off, but personal growth is very important, and it's something that you're going to hear from me, quite often from different angles. And I'm going to keep coming at you because I want to really help you shift. I know you joined this page just to get a bunch of tips on Ableton and everything like that, but I want to take you so much further, right? I want this group to mean so much more than just a bunch of posts about techniques. And not to say I do hope that you get something out of, those technique posts that I put in the group. But it's really important that I have people in this group that pay attention, that are really, truly committed, that truly emotionally are ready to make that shift and make that investment in themselves. Even if you're not ready to make a financial investment, sometimes just making that mental investment that you're going to put the time in right now until you're able to invest in yourself. That's important. So I hope you got something out of this. And at the same time, I hope that I polarized you. You're either going to like what I had to say or you're not. And that's totally fine, because this group is really about me wanting to speak to my audience, right? To the people that either think similarly or want to get to this level, right? Once again, it's totally okay if you're not there yet. But I want to slowly help build your confidence in yourself and help you understand that it's totally okay to not be great at something in the beginning, because no one is. I wasn't, and no one I know was fantastic at what they did right from the start. So that's that. I hope this helped. I'll talk to you guys real soon. Take care. Have a fantastic day.